Senior living is not just about housing solutions, it's a complete end-to-end integrated solution that one has to think.
So this old age homes has got a taboo actually. That means if you are unable to take care of your parent, if you feel that your parents are burdened to you and then you go and leave them, and those kind of a taboo was there actually. But senior living is exactly opposite to this.
Their cost of living goes up and their incomes don't. And that starts hampering over time. So one of the things we at Asli are strong about is that please take away GST at the operations level. That can help a lot.
After post-COVID, senior living really got a flip because people understood the benefit of staying in safe and secure communities, accessible to them in that environment. So suddenly we saw uptick in sales velocity, post-COVID.
Independent living facility becomes little difficult, particularly if the person is single, he has lost his spouse, then it makes life much easier for the entire family to move that person into assisted living facilities. So that is how it is shaping up in Indian market.
Today, people can afford to buy a 1 crore property, right? 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, how are they going to manage paying the operator the fee that needs to be paid to keep the place up and running? That is something that people like us, Asli, and all the operators are actually thinking over it in terms of what solutions. Another problem, you spoke about financing as well, Prashant.
India is a young country. More than half of our population is below 45 years of age. While that is true, equally true is the fact that India has approximately 150 million, that is 15 crore senior citizens as of today. And this number is projected to grow up to 35 crores by 2050, more than double. What does it mean? It means that senior citizen care and senior citizen living is no longer an option. It's a necessity. With several Indians turning 65 every day and with increasing life expectancy, senior housing is a must now. With traditional social structures collapsing, rapidly increasing urbanization, increase in nuclear families, and other social dynamics becoming stronger, senior housing is fast becoming a need. A housing, a living space tailored to suit the need of elderly citizens, from safety, comfort, as well as community living perspective. For real estate players, it's a unique opportunity to diversify their portfolio as well as to boost the profit. From independent living solutions to assisted living facilities to health and wellness solutions, all of this is on the anvil. How will this play up for consumers who are senior citizens and for businesses which are real estate ecosystem players? This is what we'll find out today. How senior living different from old age homes? We'll understand some of these fundamental differences as well. Namaskar, I'm Prasoon Kumar and you're watching this new episode of The Property Show on MBTV, world's largest real estate channel. To discuss the senior citizen living and the senior housing solution issues, we have, as usual, a stellar panel of guests. Let me start with introduction of our guests on the show today. We have Mr. G. Rajagopal, who is founder and director and group CEO of LifeBridge Group, which operates in the senior wellness segment in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Chennai, and Coimbatore. Welcome, Raj. We have Mr. Shashank Paranjape, who's founder and MD of Paranjape Schemes Construction Limited, and they operate in senior living segment as well. We have Mr. Anantaram Varayur, who's co-founder of Manasum Senior Living, a luxury retirement home for senior citizens. We have Mr. Rajit Mehta, who's chairman of Association of Senior Living Organizations in India, MD and CEO of Antara Senior Living Limited. And we have Mr. Ankur Gupta, who's also co-founder of Association of Senior Living Organizations in India and joint managing director of Ashiana Housing. Let's begin with answering a fundamental question for our viewers, which is what is senior living really and what is senior housing? How do we really define this? Let's start with Mr. Rajagopal. How would you define senior housing or senior living?
Thank you so much, Prasoon. Senior living, as the name connotes, it's a group housing where active seniors come together and live together, where there's a lot of peace of mind and they actually focus on active aging rather than worrying about the maids or the upkeep or the food or the healthcare, etc. So a typical senior living is a group housing where a senior is able to get all the facilities and amenities that they require to lead a very active life, namely within their own apartment or unit. The maintenance of it is completely taken care of by the operators. They also have a very well designed facility which spans over many common amenities, including your community hall, yoga centers, your kitchen, your dining hall, salon, etc., and all that. In fact, it also has a wonderful wellness center that's built in. Some people call it as a medical center as well. So basically, it's a well-rounded up community of like-minded people coming together where their safety, security is assured, and also they lead a very happy and healthy life.
Okay. Mr. Varayur, let me come to you. How would you enlighten our viewers? How is senior living different from old age homes typically?
So, like earlier, people, whenever, let's say, when the children were not able to take care of their parents or anything like that, then there was a kind of facilities which got formed, which are called as the old age homes, where people were going and leaving them there, actually. So, this old age homes has got a taboo, actually. That means if you are unable to take care of your parents, if you feel that your parents are burdened to you and then you go and leave them, and those kind of a taboo was there, actually. But senior living is absolutely totally exactly opposite to this. So here you are going there with your own will and your own wish, actually. In fact, it is going forward, I'm sure this itself is going to become a kind of a lifestyle or a luxury, in the sense going to a senior living may become a luxury, saying that, oh, okay, it's a pride. Okay, I'm going and living independently. I'm no more dependent on somebody who is whoever it could be. I'm not at all dependent on somebody.
Mr. Mehta, what are the typical amenities or facilities that are hygiene for senior living solutions, and what are some of the upcoming trends over there?
I'll just add a little bit to what Anant was saying on the question you asked about old age versus senior living. I think old age homes were forced. It's a compulsion. When you had nobody to take care of you or somebody wanted you to be there and you went there. Senior living is a lifestyle choice that you make today. Because you want to live with like-minded people in communities where you have provisions for all kind of services. To answer your question directly, the minimum services we expect is basic healthcare services, engagement services, wellness services, help in laundry, cuisine, some amount of entertainment, and some curated calendars to keep the seniors, active. That's what is minimum. Besides, of course, the facility. I mean, the infrastructure, which is supposed to be senior friendly, is a given. That's, I think, just hygiene. In fact, recently, just to add, Prasoon, Asli voluntarily released a checklist with the help of Grant Thornton. We said that every senior living developer must adhere to this checklist, which ensures minimum standards. While there is no regulation in India, it is a voluntary checklist which kind of guarantees to the customer some amount of confidence in the quality. And that checklist will be audited by Grant Thornton. And if the audit report is okay, then Asli will issue a certificate of excellence. So that's minimum services. On what is the trend? I think there are 3 or 4 trends catching up. One is moving towards more integrated wellness concepts, which is just not providing you primary healthcare services, but proactive interventions to help you age gracefully and actively, which could be either to do with your gait management, to your physical health, emotional health, lots of interventions to ensure that there is prevention in place before the disease hits you. That's one. Secondly, kind of customizing your engagement calendars based on what you're interested in, whether you're interested in music, pottery, volunteering, what kind of activity really gets you.
So recreational solutions primarily. Yeah.
Creating those solutions for seniors. Third is now more and more using some kind of technology devices and gadgets. So you need to monitor, for example, falls. It may happen in the apartment, right? And the person may not be able to reach the emergency call button. So can we have perhaps a gadget like a watch, which can detect a fall and send an alarm to the required person for the help to be rushed? So some kind of technology is now being used to be able to monitor the health of seniors as well. So some of these trends are now catching up in senior living.
Okay, let me come to you, Mr. Ankur Gupta. While Rajit mentioned that there were no standard definition of senior living or senior housing solutions, and Asli is trying to standardize that. West or US and some of the European markets have been far more developed in this sense, and this particular asset class has been there for a longer period of time. Have there been some standardized learnings from there that can be applied to Indian market as well?
Yeah, for sure. So, US and Australia are one of the most developed in this area, but what we have to do is make sure we Indianize those. So, one of the biggest things which we are looking at is if you look at a senior living, a great senior living is a place where seniors live independent for longer. So, when we look at services, we want to be looking at कि उसमें services enough है कि मेरे को dependency create हो जाए. But the truth is, when a person moves to to a senior living, he wants to be independent for longer. So a lot of the standards are basically built in aging in place, like having a grab rail, arthritis-friendly handle, wheelchair accessibility, switches on a little higher height, so you don't have to bend that way. So if you look at the standards in active senior living, they're minimal, but they're very simple so that the consumers can age in place and do not have to move homes when there is a dependent requirement comes in. So I think that's the major part of the thing.
Okay.
And as soon as you move to an assisted living or a care home, then the requirement changes quite a bit. And then the regulations also are much heavier and much more different.
Mr. Paranjpe, while we understand that senior housing solutions are slightly different from normal housing solutions for senior citizens in terms of their amenities, facilities, and the kind of things, some of the pointers that Mr. Mehta also mentioned around gadgets and the use of technology for safety and other things. Basically, from the very conceptualization and design point of view, right? The easy accessibility, support systems, within the design structure itself. A lot of these things. How are you seeing a lot of these things coming into the planning and the construction of senior housing solutions?
I feel accessibility should be universal, not only in the senior housing.
Maybe more so required for them in a way.
As Ankur said, that everyone really plans senior housing with aging in place concept.
Yeah.
So, disabilities will go on increasing. And so even placing a kitchen or dining area is so strategic where, eventually you will have to walk very less to reach that area. So planning does play a very important role when it comes to each and everything, selecting elevators, selecting, how the corridors will be big enough, how there will be breakout spaces. I think, and the rest of the amenities. If you just take an example of a swimming pool, the regular swimming pool will not help. So you'll have to design the swimming pool in a little different way where the steps are easy, or you come up with a sort of a mini hoist, which really then puts the senior, even if he is handicapped, you can actually put him in the swimming pool and then he can have exercises. So yes, it is very important from the design.
Okay.
A couple of very startling things when with almost 25 years in this. Usually one will look at the great views and whether the house is catching the light or catching the wind. Here, many times it's very opposite. Actually, a senior might not like a very strong, sun or a very strong wind, and that's a very different aspect when you design entire layout. And
that's very interesting point you bring on table. In terms of catering to specific needs of senior citizens and how different they can be. At times, quite opposite to what the general market trends, are as well. Magic Bricks recently released a housing sentiment index. which tracks the sentiments of consumers towards investments in different asset classes of real estate. And there we figured that the demand for senior living from senior citizens which were 55 years and plus was very, very strong. Some of the pointers that came out of that research was majority of senior citizens are looking for housing solutions which are less than 1 CR in terms of affordability, 1 crores. They Otherwise, normal consumer takes about 1 to 2 years before the journey completes, and one starts investing in real estate solutions from the time of identification of the need. Senior citizens, because they are ready to invest, they are looking for a solution in near future. There, the waiting time is very less. That's from a business opportunity point of view. And 3 cities came out, top. From sentiment point of view, that were Bengaluru, Kolkata and Mumbai in that order from a senior housing demand point of view. With these pointers, Mr. Varayur, the business of senior housing therefore, right, how do you see it today at present in India? What kind of solutions are available, and is that something that can be scaled up, or we need newer ideas, newer solutions coming in?
So if you look at the business, let's say from the different aspects, like say one is from the real estate aspect actually. So in the real estate aspect, if you see, I mean, definitely there is a good amount of demand is there. However, as you rightly mentioned, even in, I'm sure your survey would have revealed, many people are talking of ready to move in properties.
That's right. Yes.
In fact, when we go to our customers and talk about under construction thing, many times we come up with a kind of a joke saying that by the time you complete, whether I'll be there or not, kind of a thing. Yeah. Okay, so that way.
No, in fact, yes, that's the point that came out, that the waiting times has to be very less. They want to invest within the next 6 months types so that they can move in. So absolutely bang on, ready to move solutions.
Yeah, so that is one sector. Yeah. The other sector which is also emerging equally is people who are investing for the future. In the sense, people who are under 50s, they are thinking well in advance nowadays. Like the parent with only 1 daughter or 2 daughters, they are thinking like, okay, if my daughter gets married and goes away, so how will I take care of my future? So those kind of investments are also happening. Okay. So that is one on the real estate aspect. The second one, which is also equally growing, is the rental market. Because the very seniors, they are thinking that, okay, should I really buy the property at this point of time? And they are also willing to go for a rental opportunity.
Yeah, so we'll come to that. The affordability is also a very, very important aspect, especially in our country. Mr. Rajgopal, I wanted to come to you. You LifeBridge is in the health and wellness segment for senior citizens. Health and wellness is, of course, the topmost priority for any senior citizen. What kind of solutions do you think are there at present available in India, and what are some of the solutions that we can actually adapt from more developed countries like US and Australia?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you raised a very valid point. Today, we basically operate and manage the brand called Serene Communities by Columbia Pacific, which basically is into the space of operating senior living communities. But we also operate a brand called Kite Senior Care, which provides medical care across South India, and of course, this medical care is extended into the retirement homes as well. So, as of today, I think every retirement home, what we call as the senior living facilities, do have a wonderfully laid down wellness centers where the focus is on a couple of things. One is preventive care. That's very, very important because people who go into retirement homes are actually healthy people and active people. So, the focus there is number one. Can I make sure that there's appropriate preventive care measures for you in place? For example, do I have your records? Do I make sure that you have your annual health checks done properly? Are there any parameters that need to be worked upon? So you have sort of a personal medical assistant living within your own complex. So that's the first priority in a wellness center. The second thing that happens in a wellness center is, of course, activating programs, including wellness awareness programs, your exercises done by your physio team, so on and so forth. But the third most important is emergency care. See, the Indian context is always a fear that I may get unwell, or if I have a serious issue to be attended to, will there be somebody to take care of me? So these wellness centers also cater, apart from your preventive program wellness activities, we also take care of emergency situations by making sure that there are trained people in the ground and there is an emergency protocol and people are moved to a safe place if there is a requirement. This is very well shaped right now, and many of the players, and as Rajit mentioned, even Asli has got certain guidelines that are needed to be adhered by retirement home players to make sure the place is also safe and healthy. Now, talking about your developed countries, Prashant, that you raised, I just want you to know that there's a concept called CCRC. In fact, people like Mr. Paranjpe pioneered that in the Indian context, where you have a retirement home which does have a wellness center, but they also the complex, a very large complex like what he has done in Pune, etc., takes care of sickness as well. When I talk about sickness, I'm talking about aggressive sickness as well. So please have a concept called CCRs for the benefit of your viewers. It is called continued care retirement communities. It means predominantly it's a retirement home, but by the way, if you get into a palliative stage, God forbid, or into a stage where you are impacted by dementia or related conditions, you have a separate facility. You don't have to move away from there. Your daughter and son don't have to run pillar to post. That facility is also provided now. That's something that all of us would like to have ideally positioned in our retirement homes. But given the local market, as Ankur mentioned, that we have to internalize it, right? So looking at the criteria, the availability of land, size, etc., we are trying to bring in a hybrid model. People like us are trying to, provide that as a hybrid kind of. So therefore, you have well laid out wellness facilities within retirement homes.
So, Mr. Paranjpe, the integrated solution where you not only have a housing solution, but you also have care facilities for dementia and other kind of challenges that may exist. How can these become mainstream and these become a standard model for development of senior housing?
For that, you really require your project size to be large, number one. But frankly, if somebody is going into independent living, he is not thinking about assisted living or what will happen further. But see, the decision is not only the senior's decision. The decision is also the children are also equally involved in the taking in. And then if you have assisted living facilities or additional medical facilities, it helps the family to take a decision that once God forbid, but due to some reason the dementia sets in, or you have a stroke and all that, then giving care in his regular independent living facility becomes little difficult. And if particularly if the person is single, he has lost his spouse, then it makes life much easier for the entire family to move that person into assisted living facility. So that is how it is shaping up in Indian market.
But soon, if you allow me, there's an option as well. One is you have everything in one single space. Second is you have facilities which you can provide. For example, people staying in senior living may need some care at home services. They may need physiotherapy. They may need a wheelchair, a diaper. That you can provide very easily. But if, God forbid, somebody has Alzheimer's or dementia or needs more palliative care, then you have smaller facilities which are nearby where you ship them, because then they need a good space with 24/7 nursing care. So able to provide all the products and services they need, whether in the same campus or not, then I think this integrated system is a very good model to go by.
Yeah, so the point is this end-to-end thinking. It's not only about housing, it's also about pre and post situations, and how do you provide interventions at the right time, right kind of interventions. So this becomes a wholesome solution then. It's not really about building few facilities, right? And Mr. Mehta, therefore, the future of senior housing or senior living development in India, should therefore there be regulations, should there be standardizations coming in? You mentioned that there was none, and Asli has tried to bring something in, and keeping in mind that seniors who are living are alone, and presuming they do not have family to help in immediate need, etc. Should the solutions therefore be integrated solutions as such, and nothing else, nothing short of that.
I think on regulation, there are must. That's the only way you can establish, some amount of trust with the customer, where he or she is guaranteed that there'll be transparency. I will know what I'm, buying into, and there is some guarantee of minimum services being provided. So all of us, on the table through Asli are for regulation. We actively support it, and we want to work with the government. We already do that. So when Maharashtra RERA took out some guidelines, we actively contributed to the guidelines. So we are for regulation. Therefore, this voluntary checklist is an important, step in that direction.
Mr. Gupta, you are also running a large real estate company, Ashiana. From the business of senior housing point of view, right? Cost of ownership in India is one of the biggest challenges in real estate, right? It's not only about what you have to pay for the house, but it's also about the registration, the maintenance. There are a lot of costs that are associated in general alongside. So this cost of ownership, what can really be done? Should government come in with favorable policies for senior living, senior housings, like rebates or any such other policies that you think?
So personally, on two, three things. One, I just wanted to add to Shashank. I think aging in place is a critical thing, and with if you have assisted living within the same campus, it allows you to age in a place which allows you to be familiar with that location. So your friends are nearby. It helps you
You're
be
never
long term
displaced.
in the same location. And sometimes even if there are two spouses, one has dementia, they can actually move in and out of the campus more easily. So it does help, but it's not necessary, as Rajat said. It can have goods and bads.
So what I'm getting from all of you is compassion is a necessary ingredient when you are looking at
100%.
senior housing.
And so that's why, where we're on a real estate channel, we're not just in the real estate business.
Right.
We are in the service, the compassion business, and that's a very critical part of the senior living side, and we have to always remember that. From an affordability point of view, I don't think the government, especially the kind of housing Asli team is doing, I don't think any kind of rebates is required. There are certain things which are happening in Haryana and Maharashtra where we welcome that. But there is three parts. Again, you have to break consumers into two or three different angles, right? One is the lower segment, the mid segment, and the richer segment. I don't think the middle and the richer need rebate on a direct development side of the business. But what we need is like GST, the monthly cost. What happens is inflationary cost goes up. And as Asli, we've been talking about, can you take away GST on maintenance services? Because what's happening is their cost of living goes up and their incomes don't. And that starts hampering over time. So one of the things we at Asli are strong about is that please take away GST at the operations level. That can help a lot. But if you ask me from from a real estate sales perspective, there are certain things which Maharashtra is doing, which is interesting, which is allowing senior living in different segments which are not allowed, doing FAR. So they're not truly like benefits to developers, but they allow development to happen where development wasn't possible because they are senior living is low density. So you have about per home 1.7, 1.8 people compared to 5 people per home. You can actually reduce parking. Parking requirements are not the same. Seniors don't require that kind of infrastructure. So it really pushes costs down for governments, the state they in the city they are in. So that much benefit they should be looking at, but I don't think a huge amount of additional is.
So from then policy push point of view, and this is open to any of you, policy push point of view, see the point remains that the government has been pushing PMAY a lot, and construction of affordable housing, and both PMAY rural and urban have been pushing a lot of agenda. Should there be something similar or something specific around senior housing as well over there? For example, in insurance, healthcare, Ayushman Bharat has been brought to take care of or provide solution to a particular challenge. Should there be similar solutions coming as far as senior living is concerned? It's open to any of you.
I think
So for one of the things that Asli we had kind of written down is that PMAY specifically for the lower segment of seniors is a very interesting proposition we can add to seniors of older age. So we can actually do reduce rental housing for seniors at a particular age, which we can provide, or we can provide some help in interest cost or on this, and there should be an income level for that to help out on. Other than that, we've also talked about in insurance that, at Asli we've been talking about insurance, that certain amount of services should get added to insurance, like the caregiving services. If somebody has dementia, right now that service is not covered in insurance. Can we get more coverage so that if there is a acute disease which will last you a few years and you don't get covered in medical, can you get that covered in services in medical?
Sure. Mr. Mehta, you wanted to say something?
No, I was saying, in addition to what Ankur said, that the reverse mortgage product unfortunately never succeeded in India. One product which is used very.
In fact, I was coming to that because reverse mortgage seems to be such a logical solution to a lot of these things.
I would like to add.
Yes, I will come to you. I'll come to you, Mr. Paranjpe. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Mehta. Continue.
So, where you are able to sell the house that you have, and therefore live in a facility very happily till the time you're alive. And then whatever expenses are left are recovered from the sale of the house. Now, unfortunately, in India, the issue of clean titles and legacy and wills is a big issue. And therefore, they are able to off. So I think some kind of product of that nature, which can really provide a big relief to seniors who want to shift to a senior living community, coupled with insurance to fund their maintenance expenses, we can think of. In Asli, we are pushing very hard, right? They come into play, and all we are requesting the government is set up a task force, please. Let's say from Niti Aayog and IIDA can work with us to look at products and services so that we can design something. Today it might take a couple of years to launch them, but at least the work should start today.
Sure. Yes, Mr. Paranjpe.
Yeah, unfortunately, most of the planning authorities don't consider senior housing as a different activity. And then it throws challenges, though the challenges are small. For example, today, even in Maharashtra, we have to reserve space for cycle parking. Now, for senior, actually, that should not be a necessity. Then equal amount of car parking, because you don't want seniors to drive car when at certain age, right? The biggest challenge becomes sewage treatment plants, because the EC environmental department doesn't consider senior housing as a separate thing. And every house they consider 5 occupants, and then we have to really come up with the STP of that size. And when the occupancy is not there, the STP doesn't work efficiently. So both the challenges can be taken care, but believe me, they have to consider senior housing as a very different than regular housing, and frame rules.
So there is a need for framing policy in a different way as far as senior housing is concerned. That's very clear. Mr. Rajgopal, I wanted to understand from an opportunity point of view, metros versus tier 2, tier 3 towns, right? How do you see this dynamics playing up as far as senior housing is concerned?
So, Prashant, before I address the tier 1, tier 2 developments, I just want to add to the earlier question of yours in terms of the governmental policies and subsidies, etc., and all that. I think, look, what we are also seeing, senior living is basically catering to I would say the top 25, 30, 40% of the population, right? But India has another problem, which is there underlying over the whole demographic dividend right now, which is going into a old age population, is 50% and above our bottom of pyramid folks, right? I think it's very important for the government to start looking at what's going to happen to them. And many of these schemes, etc., should be directed towards that population. And we need a lot of buildings, we need a lot of developments to happen on that front. So that's something that I wanted to, comment on, saying that, there is a huge mass of people who also needs to be taken care of. And that's where many of these concessions and policies will come into play. Coming back to your question on tier 1 and tier 2, I think as we speak now, I think if you look at retirement home as a concept to a large extent, it is predominantly tilted in favor of south of India at this point in time. Nevertheless, it is growing across India as we go along with more education and awareness. We are seeing a good amount of trend, not only in tier 1, but also in tier 2, in terms of accepting this as a concept. For example, Coimbatore probably was one of the earliest cities in India at tier 2, embraced senior living and probably can be called as the birthplace of senior living in India. So we are actually seeing, with the kind of awareness that's being created, a good amount of traction that's happening in tier two. For example, people like us, we have launched projects in tier two towns like Mysore. We've gone to Kottayam, we've gone to Cochin. So we are also looking at tier two towns very aggressively. But of course, looking at the supply and demand gap, tier one will continue to lead this race for some time.
Mr. Vara, you have been running a senior living facility, and you have an ambition to have more than 2,500 seniors, being catered to. Tell me, all the challenges that surround senior living at this point of time. What are some of the silver linings that you see at this stage?
So, apart from the kind of the challenges, what we are seeing, definitely there is a good amount of demand is also increasing. In fact, as your earlier question, which you asked to Raj, see, if you look at even in the kind of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, according to me, like any tier 2, tier 3 cities, even if there is going to be, if you are starting a one project, so with about 200 units or 250 units, so you should be able to easily make it workable. Okay, because in any city, I'm sure that many number of people would have moved out of the city, right? So that is one thing. And apart from that, in terms of services, you have an opportunity to serve them in various things, be it taking care of all their well-being or their medical. So all these other anything as a lifestyle, whatever it is required. So a lot of opportunities are there. Even some of the organizations like Antara, if you take, they got into these so many other accessories, the people who the necessity for their day-to-day requirement. So those are all the other silver linings which is available as a market, I'm saying. So that way, definitely it is a very promising market.
All right. Mr. Mehta, has COVID-19 and its impact been felt on senior living as a concept?
Absolutely, very deep impact. In fact, one of the after post-COVID, senior living really got a flip because people understood the benefit of staying in safe and secure communities with everything accessible to them in that environment. So suddenly we saw uptick in sales velocity, post-COVID. Also, I think post-COVID, we have noticed some subtle changes in behaviors of seniors. For example, they are spending much more on wellness than they were doing earlier. Earlier, it was more hospital visits, episodic care, chronic diseases. Now it's more, investment in wellness. They are spending more on pilgrimages and leisure travel, right? They have got very familiar with technology. So WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, video calls, they're very, very commonly, used now. So there has been a subtle change of behavior where the aspirations have undergone a change, where since they're living longer, they want to now live healthily and with some amount of ease and joy thrown in. So we have seen a sudden uptick in demand of services, engagement services, for example, right? A lot more, post-COVID. So there's been a lot of changes, I think, post-COVID, and there's been more acceptability of this kind of product now.
Mr. Gupta, what are the triggers really at this point of time for senior housing demand? I mean, we do have socioeconomic changes, we do have a lot of those things, but they're set over a period of time, right? What are the immediate triggers you see which will lead to the kind of growth that are projected? 5x growth and 10x growth that is being projected over next 5 to 10 years.
Funniest thing which I heard, and I was kind of surprised. I was in Indonesia, and one guy said the largest reason people live independently is finance. When they have the money, they actually become independent. So if you look at the US, every time there's a recession, more joint families get created because it's financially more better to live in a joint family. So for me, the biggest trigger which is happening in India is the economic growth, which is also creating a social change, which I think will continue over the next few decades. And I think the seniors are living much longer. And I think what I'm hearing from my generation, in the late 40s and early 50s, is that they're very clear that they want to live life on their own terms also. So this also is another area where, when you're living with your children, you have to make compromises. You have to live life in a way which might sound good, but may not be as good as you want it. And I think that's another big change which is happening. And I think if you look at the corporate India of 90s, which is where the financial freedom has come, is now retiring. So it's just to me a tsunami which is coming, and I think there is a definite growth on the market.
That's an interesting point you bring about the generation, post-liberalization generation, and now retiring, and that's going to trigger demand. That's sounds very, very logical. I wanted to just towards the end understand uh, senior living is not just about seniors living in a house, right? It's really a different ecosystem altogether that we are talking about here. So let me start with you, Mr. Mehta. Uh, your take on how do you see senior living as a concept taking off in India over next 3 to 5 years?
I feel three or four things, which are happening. And about a week goes by where I don't receive a call from a friend or an acquaintance saying, I heard about this project. What do you think of senior living? It was not the case 3 years earlier, right? So things really have changed, a lot. So I do see this concept of integrated wellness being integrated with senior living as we go forward.
All right, Mr. Rajgopal, your take?
No, absolutely. I think I second what Rajat mentioned. The trend is that tier one, tier two is happening. I think we spoke about all the drivers, but tier three probably a bit later. From a financing perspective, look, that's very important. One of the trend that we are seeing, which is what Anand mentioned, is today people can afford to buy a 1 crore property, right? 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, how are they going to manage paying the operator the fee that needs to be paid to keep the place up and running? That is something that people like us, Rustley, and all the operators are actually thinking over it in terms of what solutions. Another problem you spoke about financing as well, Prashant, right? Look, today people are financing themselves to buy a property, so it's a win-win for everybody in the ecosystem because see, this project is not a real estate project or neither it's just a service project. It's a very beautiful blend of real estate and services, right? This project is one which is not handed over in 3 years. Actually, it's there for 30 years or 40 years to come by, right? So one of the things that we see from a financing perspective, apart from liberalizing in terms of getting reverse mortgage, etc., is also an ability to think through whether we have financing models which can actually push the renting and leasing as a concept forward, which means people can preserve their cash and provide for the next 20 to 30 years. Now, that is where some of the initiatives of government in the form of a mini REIT, etc., seems very interesting. But it's people like us who actually have to demonstrate the viability of these models in the coming years. And if that is done, I think there is some foundation and there's a lot of hope. And suddenly the market actually will explode much more than the numbers that all of us are talking about.
Okay, all right. Mr. Varayur, how are you seeing this?
One is definitely as a necessity, and second one as a lifestyle as well. All of us spoke about the necessity that definitely there is going to be this is going to become a must for everybody. Okay. Apart from this, it's going to become a lifestyle product as well. Like for example, if I am having these kind of facilities across the country, and if there is any option for me to go and live in different places by just paying rent or whatever it is, not really worrying about the any other thing. So that is another trend which we are seeing. In fact, you'll not believe, like we have already seen in our own communities, people having two senior living projects. I mean, like they have a one unit. They have already invested in one, probably one in Serene and one in Manasum. Okay, so those kind of trends are also we are seeing, or one in Delhi and one in Goa. So these kind of trends are also we have started.
Okay, so basic real estate dynamics have started playing up, end users versus investors as well. Ankur, any final thoughts from you?
I think one of the things we see is seniors actually wanting more. And that's one of the things like I had this resident come to me, he said, I want a six pack, right? And he's in his 60s. And you're going to see more and more different needs, people wanting to learn swimming. So one of the trends we see is, can we find purpose living after retirement? And that's one of the things which will really turn the ship around on the senior living side. And we see more and more of that happening. And obviously, the markets are going to be tier 1, tier 2, and then tier 3. Where we are, I am getting requests from Jamshedpurs of the world saying, hey, why don't you make a senior living here? And there is a demand for it. But we're not sure. It's very uncomforting to put money up front right now to see, we don't want a failure at this stage. So personally, I think it's going to be a challenge to get to tier 3s, but tier 1, tier 2 will definitely be the driver. And south of India, where the demographics are very clear. It's south of India, west of India, and then north, what Rajat said, and I kind of repeat it.
So what's emerging here is senior living is not just about housing solutions. It's a complete end-to-end integrated solution that one has to think. Because you are dealing with senior citizens, compassion is the basic ingredient when you are looking at any kind of solution. Financing and cost of ownership remains a concern, and that must be solved. At policy level, there are interventions that are required. Senior living, senior housing as a policy has to be devised, keeping multiple senior citizen specific things in mind. And as far as the business of senior housing is concerned, it's likely to just boom the way it's projected. So viewers, this is what it is today on the panel, from our panel on senior housing. We'll keep coming back to you with such meaningful shows on MBTV. Keep watching MBTV and do not forget to like, share and comment.